guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So I was kind of looking back through the videos that I've posted, and most of the time when I'm kind of reaching for products, I've noticed that some of them do tend to be quite, not super high end, but definitely not super affordable. I do love brands like NARS, Charlotte Tilbury, Iconic, and those kind of price points are in that kind of like middle bracket. They are affordable. You wouldn't be buying like a £40 foundation every month. So I wanted to film kind of like a, not a full glam, but not day-to-day makeup, so almost like in between, like if you were going to go for dinner and you put on a bit more than what you usually would. So I want to film that kind of look, and all the products that I'm going to be using are going to be £10 and under. I do have one product that is £10.99, but everything else is kind of definitely £10 or like way under. Just to show you that you don't always have to have super expensive products to get a lovely makeup look. I'd love it if you could like and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. And let's get into it. Today I'm going to be using my Peaches and Cream brushes. These are the brushes that I recommend to people if they ask me. I do love my Makeup by Ariel ones. They are the ones I use day to day, but they were expensive, and I think Peaches and Cream ones are great. For the price point, they are really good. I do love all my Morphe ones too, but they're all like such different prices that I thought I'd just do a whole like look using these brushes because I've got like a full set. To prime, we know I love to prime. I'm going to start off with the, this is a little mini version, but this is the Poreless Putty Primer. This is just the normal one. I do like the CC Vitamin one, but I think this one is really good. I'm having a bit of a bad skin day, so I'm trying to use a tiny bit less hydration in my skin because I have dry skin, which means I can put a lot of moisture in and my skin normally is fine. Some of these spots just haven't been like going, and I think it's because they're not like drying out, so I've had to kind of give my skin a little bit of like room to just be a bit dry. But this primer, even though it's pore filling, I don't find it drying, so it's got a tiny bit of hydration without it being like super wet and like moisture, if that makes sense. And I find it just leaves my skin underneath really lovely and primed. Some of these things that I have are first impressions. Some of them you'll have seen me use, some of them I've kind of had in the drawer and not really tested out on YouTube, but there are things I've kind of had, and then some things are new. So this is a new little highlighter drop thing that I got. I thought I could use this mixed in with my skin tint. So this I've used on my channel before. This is the Kind and Free Moisturising Skin Tint Foundation by Rimmel. And these are the L'Oreal Glow Mon Amour. And they're highlighting drops, so I wouldn't really put it all over my face like I would the Halo Glow, because I feel like it would be like very Tin Man. But I think as we want something a little bit glam, I thought let's see if these work together. I am going to do this directly on my face, so I'm just going to pour this skin tint kind of everywhere, and then I'm going to take this is in the shade, is there a shade? No, but it's the like champagne-y one. to kind of add this in. And I've got just a little foundation brush. And I'm just going to buff this in. I think it's super important that when like creating content that I'm making sure that I'm not just using like super high-end products. It's very easy to kind of, when you've spent a lot of money on something, that's what you kind of want to use, and you do kind of put like value on like more expensive products. But one of my favourite brands is ELF, and I actually have a lot of ELF today, and it just proves that you can have some amazing products that aren't that high end. So I think it's important that there is like a mixture. I am just gonna grab a sponge and I'm just gonna push that product in. I do like to apply with a brush first, just because I feel like you get the kind of like best coverage. I mean, it's definitely not covered any of like my spots, but it has just kind of blanked out any of my unevenness. That highlighter is actually added a really lovely glow. And I think they worked really nice together. That was the first time I'd actually like used them together, and I think that it's created a nice base. It's very, using those two together has given me a very similar finish to the NARS, is it the light reflecting one? But this has got a tiny bit less coverage, but I think my skin just looks really lovely. Next, we're going to go in with the Maybelline Superstay Concealer. This is the product that was £10.99, but I actually have had it for a while and not used it. I bought it for a testing video and I just hadn't got round to using it, and I thought, let's give it a go. It looks very thin, which surprised me for being part of like the Superstay line. I thought it was going to be kind of like a thick, almost like the HNB kind of, or like ELF camo concealer vibe, but it doesn't appear that way. It's got a very skinny applicator, and I'm just going to apply this kind of where I normally would. The one thing about these little applicators is you have to like keep going in. I like an applicator where I can like do my whole face with like one push. Just gonna conceal all of these little fronds. And this is in the shade 05. I'm just gonna bounce this in with the sponge. I just think that's really lovely. And the colour is nice for me. It's brightening, but it's not like white. So I'll leave them to sit a little bit more on my spots, and I'm going to put a little bit more under my eyes, just to see like how full coverage we can get. This says it can stay on for 30 hours. I don't know what anybody is doing that they're going to need concealer on for 30 hours. Like, how can you even test that? This is really lovely. I literally bought it before Christmas, and we're now, it's April the 1st today. Happy April Fools, everybody. And I feel like with these, it's just, I'm just going to have to do the best I can. I actually really like that concealer. It's saying that my skin is actually looking quite rough today because it's been so, I've had to kind of leave it out to dry. Both that skin tint and concealer hasn't clung to any dry patches, which is a positive. Next, I'm going to use a couple of products that I have used a lot on the channel. These are the ELF-PUTTY bronzer and blush. These are like the matte, well, the non-luminous ones. So this is in called FEELIN Shady. And I'm just going to use this as my like cream contour, cream bronzer. This tone is really nice for my skin tone. And you get a lot of product in these. I feel like I've had these for a couple of years now. I know you probably shouldn't have things for that long, but that's why I like minis. You're meant to use your makeup in like 12 months apparently, or like this says it's got a 6 month. How on earth would I use all of that product in 6 months? So if you make little things, then you're more likely to go through them. I just saw that Vive released some minis, so I'm gonna purchase those. I just think minis, I'm just in a mini stand. Maybe I'll do a mini video, like a full face using just minis. I feel like that'd be, like I would enjoy filming that video. So that was the bronzer, and as you can see, I have used this before, but I just use it to really just add some warmth back into my skin. If you ever use me as a shade reference, or if bronzers always look quite warm on you, like orange, my mission in the makeup world is to find good bronzers that work for being so pale. Contour cream products, it's easier because I can just get the contour colour, but powders are still a mission. Like I would say out of like all the categories I have, cream, powder, bronzer is just something that I really struggle with, because everything just looks very orange and I don't want to look orange. Sorry for a bit sniffly today. It's that time of the year where, even though I'm sniffly all year round because of my allergies, it's now getting to tree hay fever season, which affects me. I'm allergic to tree pollen, grass pollen, flower pollen, the lot. So I'm extra sniffly today. Then I'm going to take this. This is the cream blush in Bahamas. I'm just going to apply kind of like a little flush kind of over where I just bronzed. And a tiny bit on my nose. Even though this is quite like scary looking, I actually quite like a reddy blush on me. I'm just going to unset my under eyes, which this is a product I've used before as well. This is one of my favourite like setting under eye powders. I think it's like £3, and I saw it from Julia Adams, and now it's my ride or die. And I'm just going to brush this just right under, just because I do, no matter what concealer I use, I do wrinkle under my eyes. That is kind of inevitable. I just need to like use things that make it less obvious, and this is that product. Next to set the rest of my face is this loose powder. This is the ELF Halo Glow setting powder. So I've just got some powder in the lid, and actually my skin isn't looking that dewy. I'm still going to powder because I think for me powdering is a important step to keep in that kind of makeup locked in. And again, that's just gone on beautifully. I thought today my base would be a bit touch and go, but I'm actually very pleasantly surprised by the combination that I've used. I think it looks very like fresh, and yeah, you can tell I've got makeup on, but it doesn't look heavy at all, which maybe no one wants heavy makeup. Well, some people do, but not me. I'm just gonna set my face. This is the NYX Radiant Finish setting spray. I quite like these setting sprays. I just don't like the actual sprays. What I tend to do is if I have a good setting spray and I finish it, I tend to decant nice and mister. So even though this product is good, and I guess to keep prices down, packaging has to be like compromised a tiny bit, but this is definitely like a spray over a mist. So yeah, so let's go for it. I'm scared. The thing is with those is it kind of like comes out at like an angle. I feel like you've got to like twist and turn to get your whole face kind of covered. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let this sit down for a tiny bit. And then I'm going to go back in, which is my little secret to keeping your base flawless. I'm going to go back in with some powder just back over that setting spray, and it will kind of like lock everything in. Now for some powder bronzer. As I said earlier, powder bronzer is very difficult for me, and drugstore bronzer is even worse. So when I decided to do this video, I was like, I need a good powder bronzer, because I feel very limited with what I can use for powder bronzer. Most of them do tend to be high-end because they are the brands that can really offer more ranges, if that makes sense, more like tones. So I went on a hunt for a £10 and under bronzer, so drugstore bronzer, that is an orange, and I found this. I was in Boots, and I think I tested every single light bronzer, and I kind of avoided Rimmel at first because I feel like I used to use Rimmel back in the day, and I used to have like an orange halo. So I just went to the kind of like Milani, I went to ELF, I literally did Boots counter crawl. Went to Rimmel, and this is the natural bronzer in 001 Sunlight, and obviously it's still warm and it does have a shimmer to it, but I don't mind a shimmery bronzer. But it's almost got, it's kind of got like a peachy undertone, and I have swatched it and I've worn it and I like trialled it once, and I was pleasantly surprised, but I didn't really have like a full face on then. I'm just gonna start off lightly, and I'm just going to kind of set over those cream products with this. It's definitely adding colour, and this is the thing, I feel like I love to online shop. Like, it's literally, I sit and browse and have like 10 carts at all times, and I have to really like just close the cart. But with makeup, sometimes you do have to go into store, and I feel like Boots have really like upped their game in the past like 3-4 years with the whole beauty counter. I think it kind of felt a bit dead, and they've really started getting in like new brands, indie brands, so that you can go and still get that like counter experience, but it's like good quality prices. Like when I lived in London, I felt like, because I had Selfridges, Harvey Nicks, every department store, that's where I'd go for my makeup. But I feel like the past few times I've gone, it's got like just so many more options. But yeah, that bronzer, as you can see, it's definitely not orange, but it has given me that warmth. And that's the thing about bronzer, I can't use contour all the time because then I feel like I'm not getting the warmth, but I want the warmth without being orange. I'm actually really happy with my base. I didn't think it was going to turn out as nice as it did. Next we're going to go into the eyebrows, and I am a bit of like a Benefit girl. I do love the Bare Brows, which isn't expensive at all, but I thought let's switch it up. I dug out my NYX Brow Glue. This is tinted one. What colour is this? I think this is in the taupe shade. The reason why I don't go for this is I just really don't like this applicator. I think if they switched up the applicator on this, I think more people would use it. Well, I would reach for it more. I find that you can't really like get all the fine hairs with it. But this is literally what it says. It is a glue. It's very sticky. Sticky's not a bad thing. I just, yeah, really wish it had like a finer brush. Almost like, well, even like a long, like this, but longer. Do you know like the Refi Brow Sculpt, how that is like a longer brush? But yeah, this is a great product. And actually, sometimes, if I know I'm going out and I'm packing for like day drinking, and I want to pack like a little makeup bag, I will pop this in there. If your eyebrows do drop a tiny bit, this will stick them back up. And as you can see, it's just added some colour. And for brow pencil, I found this Maybelline New York Express Brown. It's just a very kind of fine brow pencil. What I do like about this is that it's creamy, but it's not like that to that point where it's like slippery. And yeah, it's a nice tone. It's not too warm. This is in, what colour is this? So, oh yeah, 02 Soft Brown. But yeah, these brows ain't moving. This reminds me a lot of the, is it the Huda Beauty brow? You know, the really fine one from Huda Beauty. The Huda Beauty one is thinner. I think that's what's like so good about it. I think that's probably like the thinnest brow pencil I've ever used. I don't have it anymore. I used it up and I just never repurchased because I started using my Refi one. But this reminds me a lot of the Huda Beauty one. So if you like that one, might be quite good to test that out because it'll be a lot cheaper. And we love that. For eyes, I've got, these are new, I haven't tested these out yet. These are from NYX. They're the Glow Shots Ultimate Brightening Liquid Eyeshadow. And I've got this little NYX, this is a blush, I think, a blush duo in Spiced Apple, but I'm going to use it a bit as a eyeshadow palette. I'm just going to put a bit of concealer on them, just because I've got veiny eyelids. So this is in, yeah, Spiced Apple, and I'm just using the kind of like matte version. I'm just going to kind of focus it on the outside and put it through the crease. You could use bronzer for this, but I wanted something just a bit brighter. And I'm just pushing it and blowing it out. I've got two colours, but they're very similar. Let's swatch them. It's kind of like the lighter version. It's like a very champagne-y tone, and this one is a slightly bit darker, a bit more coppery. So this is the kind of like champagne-y one. They're very reflective, and then this one is kind of like coppery and base. I think I'm gonna go, yeah, with the more coppery one, and I'm just gonna put this kind of directly on my eye, and then kind of just pat this out. It's like very soft. This is good for all us, for the soft glam girlies. It's got a nice applicator too. I feel like, okay, I think that's actually really lovely. Really pretty. Just kind of soft. Again, nothing too glam, too crazy, but just a little something to like jazz up the eyes. Underneath my eyes, I'm just going to go in with my bronzer, and I'm just going to run this just because I want a tiny bit of a different tone like underneath my eyes. And then I'm going to add a bit of the lighter tone. I'm just going to pop this on my hand. Just take my finger. I'm going to put that like in my inner corner. It's almost got a tiny bit, the lighted one almost has a tiny like bit of blue shift to it. As you can see, it's just brightened up that section. But yeah, I like those. I want to see maybe what other colours, and actually they're pretty hard wearing. I'm trying to like swipe that off and they're not moving. For mascara, I've got from, this is from L'Oreal. This is the Mega Volume Collagen 24 Hours. It's got a really nice big brush. Now I'm just going to curl my lashes. I never used to do this, and then in one of my videos I did it. And now it's changed the game. And I like kind of a volumizing mascara. So we have the eyes. Just like a soft, pretty. I actually really like these glow shots. I think they've got like a nice level of shimmer. Yeah. Then lastly for lips, we're going to use NYX suede lip liners. These are, I've used these all the time. This is in SANDSTORM. I used this on my last video, my Kylie one, and I was really happy with how my lips look. Normally I go for lavender and lace, that's my like go-to. But I find this is a little bit more browner. I just think the tone is pretty. And then I've got the Smooth Whip by NYX. This is almost, it's very similar to the cream, what they called, the soft matte cream. They're a tiny bit more like moussey, if that makes sense. This is in, what colour is this? In Pancake Stacks. And again, this has a really nice applicator. It's a bit more moussey. The other one's a bit more creamy and a bit like more liquid, whereas this is kind of a bit thicker, a bit more, yeah, mousse-like. But here's the final look. I'm super happy with this kind of glam. I'm amazed that actually I've got all of this for under £10. There's definitely a lot of these products that I'm going to start using more. I think actually everything played really lovely together. My skin is slightly more matte than normal, but I think that's down to the fact that I've had to be a bit careful with my skin recently. So my skincare has been less glowy, and I've had to be careful with primers and just whatever moisture I'm putting into my skin. But yeah, I think this would be cute for a date night, it'd be cute for drinks with friends, and it just shows that you don't need crazy expensive products. It's all about just finding them. We know drugstore can be a bit hit and miss, but I feel like once you've found some really good products, they will rival high-end ones any day. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really enjoyed filming this. Hope you have a lovely week, and I'll see you again soon.